Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Nimble Quest? Well, this is a game by NimbleBit, who don't really do PC games ever. They're mostly a mobile-based developer. They made stuff like Tiny Tower, which is a gigantic waste of time. And I don't mean that as an insult, because that is literally what the game is. It is a waste of time. It requires no skill whatsoever to play, but it is a pleasant time waster nonetheless. They also made a game called Pocket Planes, which I was hooked to for several weeks, actually. I think as people can probably remember, we had this massive airline going where everyone joined in, and we had thousands of people. I think we were top of the world at one point. It was actually kind of fun. There was a little bit of skill involved in that, not a huge amount. They also made Pocket Trains. That's their most recent, and I also think they did some weird spin-off with Star Wars, like Pocket Death Star or something like that, but apparently that's riddled with horrible microtransactions, which, funnily enough, was something that was not really the kind of thing that NimbleBit were known for. They were actually pretty fair, for the most part. All of those microtransactions were very much sort of accelerate time, but the game was designed to be played in very short bursts, and then you come back once something's built, and your phone alerts you. So it's not like a game where you can actually sit there and play it for hours. You just can't do that. So it was fair in that respect. And then in the middle of that, they came out with something called Nimble Quest, which was actually a real game, as opposed to all the time-wasting stuff. And somehow it ended up on PC. So we're going to have a quick look at it. This is in 720p because there is no other option. This is actually a dreadful options menu. It really is. Oh, yeah, thanks for that. Much appreciated. That is really helpful. I have no idea what that means or what it does. So, yeah, the options menu is pathetic. It would have been nice to have full screen 1080p resolution options. I mean, I know the game is 2D pixels, that's fine, but resolution options are kind of a bare minimum. Also, no rebindable keys. It uses 4 buttons. That's up, down, left, and right. That's it. But regardless, come on, you can do better than that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Uh-oh, that's a shop. That's microtransactions. No, there are no microtransactions in the game at all. None. Zero. This shop is all pure in-game currency stuff. There are 2 forms of currency, the gem and the token. Tokens can be bought for gems. These are really used to kind of give you a little bit of an advantage in the game or to skip levels and things like that. And the gems are used for upgrades. As you can see right here, I've put some fairly significant upgrades in there. Considering upgrading that, but hey. So, let's play the game and show you exactly what's going on. So, in Nimble Quest, you are a conga line of heroes. Yeah, I know, that sounds ridiculous. It kind of is, but you are a conga line of heroes. And you pick your leader to start with, out of the heroes that you've unlocked, and there's a lot of different classes, as you can see here. I've got about half of them. I'm going to start with the basic knight here. Now, each of these guys can level up 3 times. They can level up for gems, which you can collect in-game, or they just level up by kills. Yeah, so the experience gradually goes up. The more experience you get, the cheaper the upgrade will be. So this guy's got 185 kills. This is my main leader dude, so he's pretty good. And then your upgrades, that's what they do here. And it also tells you what each hero actually does. So, let's try and explain what this is, because it's a little bit weird. Welcome to Nimble Quest. It is basically Snake. I'm actually deadly serious. It's Snake. You know, the old mobile phone game? Yeah, it's that. But you play with RPG heroes, and they all have various different attacks, and you collect more heroes for your conga line as you go. And they die very fast, so once they die, that's pretty much it. They disappear from the conga line, but you can get heroes as drops, which will then add to your conga line. Each hero has a different set of statistics and abilities, so they're used in different ways. So my 2 knight heroes, they actually have an undead knight and a regular knight. The undead knight attacks faster, but is weaker. And they have this front-facing slash, as you can see here. But I also have a guy with a musket over there who is able to fire from a distance. So it's possible for me to do damage that way. Now, just like Snake, if you run into something, that's it. GG, you are done. If you run headlong into an enemy pack, your entire squad is dead. Straight up. If you run to the side of the level, your entire squad is dead. And that's the end of the game for you, unless you spend a token to get a retry. And they get very expensive. Yeah, you can retry once, then you continue cost double, then double again. Yeah, it gets pretty intense after a while. So that forces you to go right back to the start, and you've got to keep getting further and further into the game in order to unlock some of the more interesting heroes. You can start with any hero you wish, but you only start with 1 unless you spend tokens to get more. There are also power-ups, as you can see here. I have a shield. That shield doesn't seem to save you from a full-on engagement, though. If you run headlong in, even with the shield, you die regardless, so that's not too great. We lost a hero there, but we collected another one, so not too bad. And this is the game. It gets more complex the further through you get. It gets a hell of a lot more difficult. And when you lose, that's kind of it. You can, if you earn enough gems, you can buy tokens, which allow you to skip to a level that's further ahead, which means that you don't necessarily have to go right back to the start, but you might end up wanting to do that anyway, because tokens cost 1,000 gems. So unless you have a really, really good run, it's probably not going to work out for you so well. But it's, funnily enough, a really nice twist on a very old idea. Yeah? It's not a clone of Snake. It takes principles from Snake. You know, the combat aspect of it is completely unique. That's not... That aspect, on the other hand, isn't. GG, I'm done. That's the end of the game. Now, if I want to continue, I can use a token. I don't have one. So that's it. That's the run. But you did earn gems and you earned some experience, so you can go for it again. I'm going to grab Gizmo as my starting hero here. He's actually pretty good. He throws bombs, which are quite nice. And then you start again, you play it again. It's really as simple as that. It is really like an old arcade game, but it does have this element of progression in there. And if you earn enough gems, yeah, you can buy another quarter to either skip the levels or continue from where you were. And it is deceptively simple, but it's rock hard, especially once you get to the later levels. It gets ridiculous. The enemies all have their own different abilities. They spawn in different packs, which means they're very difficult to get rid of. There's healers later on, which mean that you can't sort of chip away. You've got to actually kill the enemies outright. You got to be very careful with which power-ups you pick up and all sorts of things like that. It's really actually very challenging and surprisingly satisfying. And it's funny I should say that, because, yeah, it is a mobile port, but it is also only a $5 mobile port, so it's not actually unfair at all. And it's a good bit of fun. There's also an arena mode, which allows you to, I think it's like a random hero every 24 hours, and you pick that hero and you try and do the best you can with 1 life, if I recall correctly. And it costs a token, but it allows you to represent your guild. Now, you can actually make a guild in the game just by actually putting in the name of something. So you basically create like a hashtag, as it were, or just a name. Just like the other NimbleBit games. And anyone that puts that in joins your guild, and you fight for dominance on the leaderboard with other guilds, which I think is pretty cool, and I think we should probably do that. So if you put in Cynical Brit as your guild, you will be able to do that. So let's see if we can get to number 1 on this, assuming that you actually want to buy it. It's a really good game on the phone, as you might imagine, but I do find it a little better on PC because the controls are less finicky, yeah? I trust my keyboard a hell of a lot more than I trust my touchscreen when it comes to doing things accurately. And you need to be accurate, especially at the high levels. This is not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, even though it appears to be deceptively simple. It has a nice little graphic style to it. NimbleBit have always had this particular graphic style, although, funnily enough, they deviated from their aesthetic just a little bit with this one. So I can appreciate the fact that they put in a little bit of effort to make it look different from things like Tiny Tower and their Pocket Planes game. And they're usually pretty good with what they do. Lately, with the whole hookup with Disney, the microtransactions for Tiny Death Star are kind of ridiculous, but for the most part, they've actually been a really good mobile developer that understands fairness when it comes to the free-to-play model. And in this case, it isn't even a free-to-play game. It's just straight-up $5 arcade game. And actually, it provides enough fun for me to justify the cost. If it was $10, I'd be saying, yeah, no. But it's $5. And I think the additional meta-competitive aspect really does help it out a lot. And it is something that's happening more and more in games. Spelunky is one of the big examples with those daily challenges. Having this sort... Damn it! Having this level of competition, and then just saying, well, you know, it doesn't really have multiplayer, but it's got this sort of weird system which allows you to have some level of competition with other players and other guilds. I think that actually really does help out a lot. I hate this game. I hate it so much. It is just so incredibly difficult and evil. My god, I just wasted a token. 5 seconds! It took me less than 5 seconds to die as I ran straight into the sonic grave bucket. As I was saying, you know, really fun arcade game, really nice meta-competitive aspect. I think that's probably going to be a thing in more games, and it's a smart way of doing multiplayer without actually having to have multiplayer. And it definitely encourages the speedrunning community. It really also encourages YouTube videos to be produced about daily challenges and things like that. So it's smart business, and it's also fun for the consumer. There's not really much else to say about Nimble Quest because it's not a very complex game. But the beauty is in its simplicity. If this had been released on Amiga, it would have been considered a classic. I think that's really safe to say because, you know, what a great idea. Taking a really simple concept, throwing in some nice progression and RPG elements, and also making it rock hard and putting in a little bit of competitiveness for good measure. It's good. You know, not every game has to be super complex. I hate you so much. Not every game has to be super complex. That's fine. It's actually okay. It doesn't have to be ridiculous. Alright, I think we're gonna just try and show you the arena mode before we get out of this, so I think I need a token for that. Let's see if that's the case, yeah. It would be nice if it actually just said buy a token from here. Not having to go to the shop for a token would be good. That seems unnecessary. I'm gonna buy a token for arena, there we go. So, I've got 11 hours left on this challenge. As you can see here, I have to play a mage who, in my opinion, is not a very good class at all. So that's not going to work out so well, but we'll do what we can. Alright, here we go. I'm spending a token to fight for my guild's honor in the arena. I'm tempted to grab a buff, but no. Here we go. Alright. And once you die, you die. Like, pretty much instantly, by the way. So, you got to be super careful. I must fight for the honor of my guild. I need you to fight for the honor of my guild. My guild is Cynical Brit. At it. You know you want to. Let's see if we can get Northern Lion's guild on this, assuming he has one. No, actually, let's not do that, because I know how Northern Lion gets with games like this. He just like, oh yeah, you know, so I got #1 in the world on the Spelunky Challenge today. For some reason, super good at these silly two-dimensional sodding torture platform games, and oh god, I hate him so much. But yeah, I think you can see the fun value. You know, nice little art aesthetic. Good music as well, actually. Nice chiptunes. I'll let you hear them. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. As I say, nice aesthetic. Feels retro with a nice modern spin to it. And as I said, you know, if this was on Amiga, this would have been a damn modern classic. It really would. I could guarantee it. But as it stands, it's a really fun, challenging arcade game. And it's one of those rare times when I can actually recommend a mobile port on PC. I know it sounds bizarre. I usually warn you away from that. But they've done a good job here. Aside from that resolution option thing, I think that really is about it. And obviously, rebindable keys. Not that I think that using the cursor keys is a problem, but regardless, it would have been nice to have them anyway. So there you go, folks. A little bit of Nimble Quest. Currently available on Steam right now for $5 or your regional equivalent. Nice little spin on an old classic. It's fun. And challenging. And rage-inducing. Horribly, horribly rage-inducing. My name's been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you next time.